Today on Riffs, Spirits, and Gear, we check out my 1990 Burny Les Paul Custom. I just got back from Japan, and after searching for many, many years, I was successfully able to find a guitar that I have looked for a really long time. This is a Burny Les Paul. Now, what is a Burny Les Paul? Burny was a brand under the Fernandez Guitars name, and Burny was basically their line of Gibson Les Paul copies, beginning in the late 70s and made up until, I believe, about 5 years ago. They're no longer made, and they have, over the years, they have been made in a ton of different countries and factories, so on and so forth. So they vary quite widely, but for a long time, Fernandez made Gibson Les Paul standard copies and not necessarily the customs. But beginning in the mid 1980s, about 1985, they started making very high quality, made in Japan Les Paul custom copies. Enter the Burny Les Paul Custom. Now there are 3 different model numbers, but they are all essentially the same model. You have RLC 60, RLC 65, and RLC 70, which is what this guitar is. Now, they are all the same guitars, but interestingly enough, the number designated the retail price of the year that they came out. So for example, RLC 60 was 60,000 yen retail price at the time. And every year it would go up by about 5,000. So by the time you hit 1990, this is now an RLC 70 because it retailed for 70,000 yen at the time. Now what makes these so desirable is these are absolutely on par, if not a little bit better build-wise than Gibsons of the same era. I was actually fortunate enough to try a bunch of Gibson Les Pauls from the late 80s and early 90s in the shop that I got this very guitar from. I liked the Burny better. And also, you can find these for really, really cheap. I paid 50,000 yen for this guitar, which equated to American dollars is $470 out the door. So this is an incredible deal. I would say this guitar weighs about 9 pounds. It's not chambered, it's solid. The construction is basically identical to the Gibson Les Pauls of the day. It's a mahogany neck, mahogany body. I believe it's a maple top. It might be a mahogany top. I'm not totally sure. But the VH2 pickups are very desirable. They're a slightly overwound Paffy kind of pickup. They're very middle of the road. They sound really, really good. The hardware is all very high quality. It comes stock with Goto tuners. They feel great. And on this particular guitar, there is no fret wear. And when I got it, it was strung up with what I believe, or what must have been 8-gauge strings. I mean, very, very, very light strings for some reason. So maybe that had something to do with the lack of wear on the frets. I am not sure. But the yellowing and aging of this guitar is just spectacular. It's been played. Obviously, like there's a, You know, there's a little wear mark on the back, there's yellowing on the top of the neck, but there are no cracks. It's not been abused, it hasn't been dropped or anything like that. And I just couldn't believe I found this in downtown Tokyo at a used guitar shop. Now, other Les Paul copy brands such as Orville and Greco and Tokai are also very, very popular, but I've always liked the Burny brand because they're slightly left of center. Not everybody has Burny on their radar. Now, over in Japan, there's all sorts of variations and years all over the place, mostly newer models, which are not that great in comparison to the old guys. So if you can find a vintage, a Burny Les Paul, generally speaking, it goes for pretty cheap. Now, over here in the United States, this guitar generally goes for about $800 to $1,100, depending. You see a lot of black ones. I have personally never even seen a listing for a cream colored one, which is another reason why I was so excited. And yeah, I just thought I would share this with you guys, and I am super stoked on my find in Tokyo that I was able to bring back home and show to you guys. All the Pokemon links down below in the description. You've been wonderful, I've been Fluff. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.